Hello, Mavericks. This is Mrs. Hampton, and I am so happy to see you today. I'm so glad that we can be together. Today is going to be the last day of our graphing. So really, what we're going to be spending our time on today is interpreting data from graphs, answering questions, and really thinking critically about the information that we can find and see on graphs. All right, so go ahead and get your bow and arrow up. We are ready for our learning target. I can interpret data in graphs and use the data for problem solving. Woo! All right, team. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is, if you look here, this is a sheet from the math workbook that we have been working on through at school, and I know some of us have it at home. Additionally, it is available to download on through our Google Classroom, so you can find that as well. And that for this week, that is on page 245. And today's lesson is a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go through some of those problems with you together to help us kind of thinking about what kind of problems that we have, and then solving them. Okay, so your math workbook pages are page 245 through 247. So that's 4 pages, but there's only a few problems on each page, about 3 problems on every page. So it's really not that many problems, but it's looking at the different graphs and finding that information. So the very first page, this is something that we have become very familiar with, okay, because it's looking at data and finding ways to graph it. So this very first one, you are looking at bicycle sales. You're looking at the days and then the number of bicycles sold. So the first thing that we're going to ask you to do is we're going to ask you to make a picture graph. So for these, you can choose little bicycles and have the same kind of image for bicycles for each one. You can choose a different picture for each one. Also, if you choose, it's totally up to you. And I will kind of get you started on each of these. Here. All right. So the first thing you're going to look at, so you're going to look at your days. So we know that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 days here, and this is probably where our pictures are going to go. So right here, this gives us the clue to what our title is going to be. So it's going to be bicycle sales. Change this complete row. Okay, and it's going to be the same title for both. All right. So we know that these are going to be showing the same data, just in different ways. So this first one is the picture graph. So you're going to look at Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And again, it's going to be consistent, same information, Sunday through Tuesday down below. Okay, and then for here, you're just going to use that data. So you're going to look over how many were sold on Saturday. Your number is 8. So if I don't know what your symbol is going to be. I might make that my symbol. So I'm going to show 8, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you're going to do the same thing for each one of those. Over here with your bar graph, it's the same thing. So you're going to look right here. Remember, we always start at 0. That's correct. So you're going to start at 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10. And because we know that we had 8 cells, that's Saturday, sorry. On Saturday, I'm going to find my 8. I always make that line, and I always do this too, because it helps you with solving problems and information later. And then I'm going to go ahead and graph that data. Okay, so that's all you're doing. It's more of a little bit of a review, because there's not a whole lot we're going to do with this data once you've had practice graphing it. Okay, if you want to kind of extend yourself from what we're doing on this page, again, you can find some graph paper or create your own graph and just do your own topic and find out something that you want to do, and you can include larger numbers. If you feel comfortable that this is showing you everything that you know, then you can stick with this, okay? This is your math workbook pages, and we'll talk about the homework and remembering pages. Okay, like I said, today is really about solving math problems with the data, using the data. So as we have learned, right, we get data from our numbers as well as our graphs. So we're going to use our tools here. I have this right next to us today because I want us thinking about that. Okay, we know that we have to read each of these problems 2 times. And the reason that we ask you to do that is because it really helps you to understand what is the problem asking and what is the information that it's giving me, so I can think about, is it one-step problem? Is it a comparison problem? Okay, what's going on and what is it asking me? Okay. Step number 2, we know we underline that question. So how many history books are on the shelf? So I see I have a lot of options up here, but knowing that this one's asking me for history books, I can really kind of key in here. Okay, now I'm going to read it again. Okay, children are reading 3 history books. Okay, and let's also remember that it's really important to read the title of the graph so that we know what it's asking. So books in the class library. So we know that this is the number of books in the class library. So if we look at history books, how many history books do we have in the library? 5. How about how many picture books? 2. How many science books? You follow it up. Come over to your line. 6. Okay, and the last one, looks like we have the most of, is 7. Okay, so it says, if I know, I'm just going to put my data over here. Actually, okay. So children are reading 3 history books. Okay, and the rest of those books are on the shelf. Now, how many books total are at the library? 5. So it wants to know that how many of these 5 are on the shelf. So is this a comparison question, or is this a math mountain where you're going to add and subtract? What do you think? Yeah, after reading it 2 times, we can say that, yeah, it's we're adding and subtracting to find the difference between the number that's at the library versus the number that's on the shelf. Okay, so right here, I'm going to box those keywords. Okay, so history books was really that big one that was important. Okay, on the shelf is another one. Okay, and then reading. Children are reading 3 of the books, of the history books. The other ones are on the shelf. Okay, and then we want to squiggle our units. We're going to look for our 3. Okay, and that's really the only one that we give us. However, we also are given this. So over here, I'm going to put that there's 5, because that would be a squiggly thing that is going to be in most word problems, but that isn't in today because you actually have to get it from the chart. Right? So we always say when we check the facts, that's really when it's the time that we're going to write down whether this is a math mountain or whether it's comparison bars. And we decided that you're right. This is a math mountain. Okay. Now, when we're looking at our data, what number do you think is going to go at the top? Yeah, the 5 is going to go at the top because there's 5 books total history books total at the library. Okay, now how many are children reading? Well, children are reading 3 of those books. Okay, so you know your equation. Now that you've spent the time checking the facts by putting them into a drawing that's going to help you to solve, now you can solve, because you can either look at this math mountain as 2 ways. You can look at it as 3 plus unknown, which the number is on the shelf, equals the total number in the library. Or you can say that 5 minus the number that the children are reading leaves us with the number that is on the shelf. So your equation would look something like this. Okay, and 5, let's use our hand, 5, and we're going to take away 2. 1, 2 is going to leave us with 3. Oh, take away 3 is going to leave us with 2. So we know that we have 2 on the shelf. Okay, these other 2, I'm just going to read and kind of give you some clues before we go into solve. And then I'm going to let you solve them on your own. All right, so the class library has 2 more science books than math books. Ooh, there was a key word in there. Did you hear what it was? How many more math books must the library get so that there's the same number of math books as mystery books? Now, before we get started with this, is anyone noticing that this is probably a two-step word problem? Yeah, right? Because it's asking us to do two things. Okay, so that's why we're going to read it once. Now we're going to read it again. The class library has two more science books than math books. How many more math books must the library get so that there is the same number of math books as mystery books? All right, so underline the question. The question is, how many more math books must the library get so there is the same number of math books as mystery books? Okay, so now I'm going to look up here. So our next thing is we're going to box the keywords. So the class library has two more science books than math books. Now, we do not have math in this data chart, which is why this is a two-step word problem, right? Because they're going to want you to do that. So let's take a look at this first step before we go any further. Okay, so the class library has two more science books than math books. Do we know how many science books we have? Yes, we do, right? Science books, we have 6. So we can do our comparison bars because it's telling us more and fewer. So if I say the class library has 2 more, we know that that's where our more and fewer goes. Then 2 more science books, and we have science books here, but if it has more, then that means science books are more and math books are less. Okay, so now is where you get a clue in the data that isn't in this problem yet, right? But it is in the problem up here. So this is what you would normally squiggly, right? If it was in the word problem. Because we're reading graphs, we're going to pull that from up there. So we know we have 6 science books. Okay, so now if we think about the way our comparison bars work, okay, we're at that part where we have checked the facts and we can solve. So we know that we can look at our comparison bars as 6 take away unknown equals 2, or 6 take away 2 equals the number of math books. Okay, so the problem, the math itself isn't super hard, but the trickier part is finding how to set up our problem. So I'm going to let you solve that on your own. Okay, how many more math books must the library get so there's the same number of math books as mystery books? Now you know we're going to come up with that answer. So we're going to have this number of math books. Okay, and we want to know how many mystery books. We have 7. So you're going to say blank plus how many more we have to add will get us to the number of 7, which is the number of mystery. Okay, so you're going to plug in this data, and then you're going to find out how many more you have. This is your number of math books. You're going to find out how many more you have to add so that you can have the exact same number of math books as you have mystery books. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and skip the next one. You can solve that on your own. But I will read it to you just in case there are those that need help. Children are reading some of the mystery books. The rest are on the shelf. Okay, so mystery books is what I'm going to box in here. Okay, the rest are on the shelf. The library gets 6 new mystery books. So you can tell that that's going to be changing this total, right? Because right now we had 7. So it gets 6. So we have some new mystery books that are coming. I'm going to squiggle that number there because we know that's a new number that we're going to be adding to the mystery books that we already have. Okay, so now there are 10 mystery books on the shelf. So if we think about, you have 10 mystery books on the shelf, and it told you up here that children are reading some of the mystery books, and some of them are on the shelf. So some number out of that 7 is going to be on the shelf. Okay. We also know that there are 10 mystery books right now on the shelf. So we added a number to the 7 that we had initially, and it wants to know how many mystery books are the children reading. So this is going to be a 2-step problem, okay? These aren't going to be comparison bars, but you need to find out, right, how many mystery books you have now, and then you need to find out of the number that are however many, so you're going to have 2 methods, of the number that you have, right? So you're going to have this total over here. It says 10 of them are on the shelf. So how many are the students are reading? Okay, so that's my clue for you on this problem. And some of these do get really challenging. So if you feel frustrated, you can ask a grown-up to help support you. I don't want to give you too much information because I also want us to use our thinking brains and think really hard on how to solve this problem too. All right. Okay, the next one, guys, this is a lot of it's the same types of problems. The one thing that I want to you to think about on the back is this back page is a lot of comparison bars. Okay, so this one isn't asking you to read data from a graph, but it's just asking you. So when it's asking you to do your comparison bars, just make sure you draw those first so that you're putting in your data accurately, and then you can solve. Okay, so if you have a park has 46 maple trees, it has 18 fewer. All right, that's where my 18 is going to go, right? And then elm trees. So if I know I have fewer elm trees, that's how I'm going to label it. If I have more maple trees, that is the number that's going to go on top. And then I'm going to let you solve this problem. Okay, so it's the same thing for all of these. All of these are going to be comparison bars, okay? All right, so we're going to do a couple, I'll just kind of read through these with you so that you can see what it is. And then I'm going to let you kind of work hard to solve these problems, okay? All right, so sheep, again, what best practice is to kind of look up here. I have 3 sheep. I have 7 rabbits. I have 4 goats, and I have 6 cows. Okay, so that spending that time right there is going to make my work go a whole lot faster as I'm solving this. Okay, so right here I have, notice I have the farm has 4 more rabbits than horses. Now, is horses on our data sheet? No. Okay, so that's going to be my chance right here. I already know that I'm going to have some comparison bars. Okay, and I'm going to plug in more rabbits, right? That more and fewer into the data to help me know. Now, if it has 4 more rabbits, I know my rabbits are going to go up here and my horses are going to go down there. I'm going to have to read my graph to find out how many rabbits I have, and then I'm going to plug in to solve. Okay. The next one, the farm has 5 fewer goats than chickens. So you can see it's the same thing. I don't have chickens on my graph. So I know I'm going to be creating comparison bars because it gives me that clue word, right? Fewer goats than chickens. Okay. And I know that I'm going to be setting up my comparison bars because of that. Okay, so best practice, right? We always want to make sure that your farm has 5 fewer goats than chickens. So which number is the bigger number that's going to go at the top? That's right, it's chickens because it's 5 fewer goats than chickens. So if I have fewer goats, then I must have more chickens. Okay, and I'm going to leave it up to you to plug in and find that missing information. These problems are only one step, so it's nice, okay? The third one is a 2-step word problem, okay? This one is there are 3 cows in the barn. So how many cows do we have? You can look at the number of cows that you have. And I like to, once it mentions them, I like to bring them down here just so I have them for my reference. So if I know I have 6 cows, okay? The rest of the cows are in the fields with the goats and the sheep. How many animals are in the field? Okay, so you're going to have to be looking. The rest of the cows out of this are on the field with goats are also on the field, and sheep are on the field. It does not say that rabbits are on the field. Okay, so just make sure when you're finding that total, you're just including the ones that are named. So those are those words that I would box in. Okay, I'm going to squiggle that because 3 of the cows are in the barn, so you can't just add them all up. All right, Mavericks. So a lot of this is data. If you are looking for an extension for yourself this week, I highly encourage you to go out and use data to create your own. To create your own graph and your own data. Again, you can find things online. Maybe you want to walk outside and go for a walk with your family, see what types of trees you see. Maybe you want to look at different colors of houses or different colors of cars that you can spot on the sidewalk or in people's driveways. You can look at different colored flowers that you're starting to see bloom. So it's totally up to you, but there's a lot of different ways to find and track data. So once you have that extension, okay, I want you to go home and I want you to graph that information and try to come up with at least 3 two-step word problems. So that would be your extension for the week with this work. If you feel like you are being challenged with the work that you have right here, then that is amazing, learner, because you guys all know exactly what you need and where you're at. So great job on graphing. I am super excited to get started with Unit 6. We don't usually do the last one because it's kind of more of an application. So if you're looking at your homework and remembering, you guys can look at this part right here. So a lot of this is very similar to what we just did today, okay? Benita read 4 history books. The rest were science books. How many science books did she read? Okay, so it's just looking and analyzing and using the data from the bar graphs. You can also, if you want to do the 5-10 homework, you guys can always do that too. Okay, so there's lots of different options on work that you want to do. But next time we meet, we're going to be starting on Unit 6.1. Okay, continuing our exploration on subtraction. So mathematicians, it was so wonderful to be with you guys all again today. And I look forward to our next meeting. Happy learning, Mavs.